Welcome to the podcast. Today, we are joined by Mr. Kaylon Paterson, a talented space systems engineer from Trinidad and Tobago. Kaylon has a strong passion for research and environmental preservation, holding a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, a Master of Engineering in Space System Engineering, and an Executive Master of Global Management in Space Business Leadership and Policy. You've had exceptional contributions that have earned you numerous accolades, including the School of Systems and Enterprise's Best Master Thesis Award in 2020 and the Cultural Vistas Alumni Impact Award in 2022. Kaylon, you've also been honored with several U.S. government fellowships, such as the Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange Fellowship and the John S. McCain Strategic Defense Fellowship, where you contributed to initiatives at the U.S. Space Force Chief Scientist's Office. You currently sit as the CEO and Chief Engineer at Paterson Aerospace Systems, where I personally see you dedicating to creating a sustainable approach to space exploration through innovative research and development. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? I know Trinidad and Tobago, but how did you end up in the States?
Yeah, so I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, and throughout my studies, I kind of attached myself to the sciences and figured out that I really wanted to focus on stuff that was more physics-based, things that had harder questions. So I realized at some point there that, I couldn't stay where I was because the harder research was being done elsewhere. So right around 17, I applied for college, got into some schools, and in my effort to migrate here, we found out that I already had U.S. citizenship, and so we had a little bit of a delay there in getting over.
Hold on. You found out at 17 that you had already had U.S. citizenship?
Yes.
How long did you apply to come over here prior to that?
Oh, I had never applied. It was from birth. My dad was a citizen.
Okay, and you just found out when you were 17.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Interesting.
So yeah. So the things that happen when you apply to get your student visa, you find out that there are things, in the background that have been there.
Open up a whole nother world.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, it definitely was. It was good timing because it allowed me to come here and to start working towards my aerospace degree, and actually be able to participate in the industry more actively than I would have.
Did you always know that you wanted to work in the aerospace industry?
Around like the age of like 17 or so is when I really realized that I had the capability to do it. It was always in the back of my mind. It was always something I was interested in, but I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to, really take on that level of work. And so when I migrated and I started college is when I really decided to kind of take the leap of faith and jump right at it. Yeah.
Where did you end up going to college?
I went to Morehouse College for undergrad.
Okay.
And studied math.
And so then did that land you here in Rome, New York? Because you have quite the journey from Trinidad and Tobago to the United States. And then you didn't come from Rome, New York. You weren't born and originated from here.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time in Brooklyn. That's where my dad lived. But yeah, I went to Morehouse. Then I got a fellowship that took me to Germany for a year. And I started master's degree level work over there. Also did my first actual engineering, internship. Then I came back here, worked in California for about 6 months, got into grad school. Then I went to grad school in New Jersey, and then I ended up at the Space Force right after that. And then went back to grad school while I was at the Space Force.
What was your biggest challenge throughout your journey going into aerospace and the collegiate work that you have done?
Yeah. Knowing that this was what I was supposed to be doing with my life. I had a lot of, moments throughout my matriculation that kind of said, hey, yes, you're on the right path. Yes, you're doing the right thing. But you get into your head, you have failures along the way, and things kind of just, shake you a bit and make you question whether or not you're doing the right thing. But, I'm here and I got this far, and I think that I'm on the right path. So
yeah. Is failure part of that journey as well, in order to be able to understand as an entrepreneur
Yeah.
that not everything is going to be successful on that first try?
Yeah. I failed a lot in undergrad. That's without a question. But yeah, after that, you you mature, you grow, you realize what works for you and what doesn't, and you kind of just, you keep moving forward.
Do you have a certain mantra or a daily quote that you look at, recite, say to yourself in order to keep going forward?
Yeah, I'll give you two. So keep moving forward was not the one I was thinking of when you asked that, but I just said it. And that's Walt Disney. Everybody, I feel like most
One of my
people know that
favorites.
one.
Yeah.
And then the other one would be research your experience, apply what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is essentially your own. And that's Bruce Lee. And what it basically says is that there's no one size fits all for anybody's journey or what they're focusing their life on, but you can learn from everything and you can apply what works for you and, get rid of anything else and just kind of keep going at it, whatever it is you're going at it.
I love that. And you started your career out. Did you know that you were going to build one day Paterson Aerospace?
It looked a lot different when I was 17, but yeah, I did.
What did it look like when you were 17?
When I was 17, it was the fastest track to a PhD I could get. And then, become a researcher at some university somewhere and do that for a long time. And somewhere in between being a professor and a researcher that I, start doing this somewhere. I don't know how it would have worked out, but at the time I didn't know. But yeah, the failures helped with adjusting that course and making me kind of go at this faster than I would have timeline-wise.
So let's fast forward to 2022.
Mm-hmm.
You receive awards, and our HUSTLE applications come out here at Griffiss Institute, and it's an acronym for Helping Upstate Science, Technology Leaders, and Entrepreneurs. It's a defense accelerator. Have you heard of that before?
No.
So the application comes out. What compelled you to apply? Because Paterson Aerospace was just being created at that time.
Yeah, it was in its early phases. So 2022, we had actually gotten a small grant that allowed us to build our MVPs. And at the end of that year was also when I was kind of wrapping up my job at the Space Force. And I was had some time for work because we had just had my daughter. And during that time, I was trying to figure out what it is I was supposed to do. Whether it was that I was supposed to keep on this track that I was at with the government, trying to, get into a leadership position and stay there and maybe make a difference that way, or was I going to go after this thing that I'd been building on the side and figure out how to make that work. And what made the final decision for me was realizing that I would rather my daughter see me go after my dreams than, take the easy road, which was a very secure job at the Space Force. So that's what I did. And then when I went back out to work after that break, we had a lot of different changes going on, and things just kind of got rough. And it was in my mind, it was kind of God telling me, hey, this is your out. So I jumped, and like you said, the HUSTLE applications were going around. I saw something on LinkedIn. Can't remember who posted it or who shared it. And I applied, and it was literally a leap of faith. My wife still gets on me about, you don't know where this place is. It's in the middle of nowhere. Like, how is this going to work? And we made it work. I came out here for the summer. She fell in love with the place, and we figured it out.
What was your biggest challenge with HUSTLE?
Being here by myself for the 2 to 3 months was really tough. My team is still mostly part-time and they're all remote, but figuring out how to navigate this, with at the time I still had that very strong imposter mindset where I was like, hey, I'm young, I don't know anything, but then I got here and I'm meeting people who are all like, oh, hey, like this guy knows a lot. He used to work at the Space Force. Like, you have answers. Like, let's talk to you. And it really helped with my, it helped motivate me to really go after this and to really feel more comfortable with the things that I didn't know with. Yeah.
So there was a lot of customer discovery working with the DoD, and you had already had that experience working at Space Force before, but you went on to go ahead and win
Yeah.
HUSTLE as well, taking home $100,000 cash prize. And in doing so, what was that conversation with your wife when you won? And knowing prior to, she's like, what is there in Rome, New York?
Yeah.
Right? Walk me through that conversation if you would.
Well, she was watching online, and she was, she was definitely texting me the whole time about, everybody else's presentation, which ones were good, which ones weren't. She warned me like right before I got on stage, hey, that one judge is like really tough, be careful. And, then when the announcement was made, of course, she was happy, and she called and we talked about it. Her dad was actually here with me for that, so that helped. He was my ride home because we needed to get home the same day because my daughter's birthday was the next day. So, yeah.
So you spent the night before pitching your HUSTLE business and then drove home to go see your family,
Exactly.
your daughter.
Yeah.
Nice. So then, was it the community that got to you? I mean, the prize money is wonderful. It really helps those startup companies. But you and your wife and your daughter ended up moving up here afterwards, correct?
Absolutely.
Uprooting from
Maryland.
Maryland to here. What was that journey like?
So definitely the community was a big part of it. Getting to know you guys, getting to know everyone here, and realizing that, people really genuinely wanted to help make this work. And also, if I could just tangent for a second, just the community of Rome, New York, and this idea of like, hey, this is a community that's been through something together, and everyone here has this mindset of, hey, we all need to build together to make sure that this place stays alive. And it meant a lot to me that, one, I was welcomed into that, and two, that I was, like I said, given that level of respect of, hey, you're what we need here. How can we make this work? How can we help you? Which I can't remember exactly what they say over at, was it Center State CEO, but they have a very similar like phrase that they say, what can I do? How can I help? I think it is. But yeah, so, having that here, it was so easy for me to jump. And it's funny because that was kind of challenged in Maryland because I was literally packing up my U-Haul, and I get a call from someone in like business development, government level there, and they were like, hey, we just heard about your company and you guys won this thing, and are you like, how can we get you to stay? And I'm like, what do you mean? I've been here for 4 years. Like, I'm not staying. I got, like, my company is going somewhere with this, with these people. And they stayed on the phone for a while trying to convince me and, tell me to apply and to do this and to do that. And it's not necessarily that they didn't have the things that I needed, but I had tried, and here's a community that no one knows me. And I show up and they say, hey, let's make this work. It's a completely different energy.
Yeah. I'm happy to be part of a community that it really does start here, with its people and understanding the purpose and the why, and making other people feel inclusive and that you belong here mentality. So it's great to hear that you not only felt it, but you experienced that as well, and that you moved your family here, your beautiful family. So thank you on to that. We talk about collaborations. How big is collaborations for you and for the success and growth of Paterson Aerospace?
It's extremely important. Space industry, most businesses, they're very expensive, and they you lack resources when you start a business. You're kind of just going on a whim and hoping that it sticks and that something works. And when I moved here, I was given access to all of the resources that were here, and even met my mentor, Charles Green, who I'm sure you're going to ask a question about that next, so I won't go into too much detail. But it allowed me to bridge a lot of gaps in terms of where can I find funding, where can I get certain things done as cheaply as possible so that I can progress my technology as quickly as possible. And every step of the way it's been a lot easier than I imagined it would be to get through certain milestones. So yeah, it's very important.
So with that, I mean, yes, we mentioned Charles Green. from AIS. Was it an easy conversation to have him become your mentor? How did that take place?
I was one of the few times in my recent life that I would say I was nervous, but he came to speak to our HUSTLE class, and his background is cybersecurity, so I'm kind of switched off, but I'm listening because I know it's something I need, but it's not something I necessarily have any kind of like interest in personally. So he's talking and he's telling his story, and it just like it starts to like really ring in my head, like this guy sounds just like me. The stuff he's been through sounds just like the stuff I'm going through. And at the end of the conversation, he's a very soft-spoken and just very gentle person, and he's like, I have to go catch a plane, but if anybody wants my contact, just like ask the Griffiss folks. And I was like, no, that's not enough. I need to chase this guy. So I follow him. I walk with him to his car.
Wait, you really chased him?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I had to. Yeah. At that point, it was either I did or I didn't. And so I'm walking with him, talking to him through the halls, get to his car, and he's like, I tell him what I'm doing and why I'm here, and he's like, I think this is really interesting. Like, let's set up a meeting in a couple of weeks when I'm back. So he comes back. We go outside on one of the balconies here, and we're talking, and he's like, before you even start, I just want you to know that when you came up to me, that was everything I needed, because I've been trying so hard to like do more things in space, because and then he let me know that he was a big space nerd, and we just connected on that. And then everything was easy. It was just like, we realized that we had a lot of things in common. We realized that we had a similar story, and I feel as though he felt as like he wanted to help me. He wanted to figure out how we can, bridge some of the gaps and some of the challenges he faced when he first started here. And that just made this whole thing a lot easier.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that story. I could hear that over and over again. I think that's a really great story of how you chase your opportunity, and you don't let other things dictate it. You go after it when you see what you need and kick those doors open.
Right.
So that is great. Can we talk a little bit about the mission of Paterson Aerospace and what you see going forward for its future?
Yeah, sure. So, the mission of Paterson Aerospace is to be the premier space sustainability company in the world. But more so, it's not just about Earth, obviously, right? It's about the future of the space industry, which is, as we see all the time in the news, it's going back to the moon, and it's Mars. It's what else can we do? Where else can we go? What else can we bring humanity to? Long term, not just, hey, let's send a few robots there and learn about the planet, but we actually want to move to other places. One of the biggest problems here on Earth that we talk about all the time but don't actually try to solve is the fact that we have polluted this planet. We've overused the resources that are here, and that's kind of one of the motivators for why we're looking at other places. But one of the key things that's missing in the space conversation is, okay, when we move to the moon or when we move to Mars, how are we going to make sure we don't repeat what we did here? And that's always been something that's, important to me, because like you mentioned before, I'm from a small island nation. We are often the tail end of all conversations about pollution, but also the most impacted by these things. And so all of these things are constantly in my head. Like, how can we do better? How can we even just within the space industry do better with the resources we're using here on Earth? And that's kind of the driving force behind this whole company.
What do you see the biggest challenges that you're going to face in the 5, 6, 7 years from now?
It's a tough question. Obviously, funding is always going to be a challenge.
Let's talk about that then, right?
Sure.
So as startups,
Yeah.
in a tech startup, how does one get additional funding? One, I know you went through the HUSTLE Defense Accelerator, but how do you sustain what you're doing so that you can progress to that next level?
Right. Definitely keeping operations small, acting like we still work in a garage even when we have an office now, and just trying to do things as effectively, but still as cost effective as well as possible. That's one of the biggest solutions. But in terms of like searching for funding, we've been going after the SIBRs, we've been going after research grants from universities, which we've had a lot more success with. And of course, investors. I've had a ton of conversations with investors from the start of the company till now. We haven't really found the right fit there, but we're still open to those conversations. But that is how you bridge those gaps. If you want to like use Elon Musk as a good example, when it was PayPal, it was, he was in my situation where it was like, okay, I'm bootstrapping and I'm living in my office. I have to figure things out. But for SpaceX, he could lean on PayPal to say, okay, well, I have money. I have a really big, expensive, successful business. I can leverage that to build a space thing. And even with SpaceX, he still went into debt. He still had his struggles in the beginning, but eventually, won his reputation to take these companies to the next level, and his lessons learned got him to where he is. In my situation, I'm still at the PayPal stage, so I'm not sleeping in my office, but I'm still figuring things out as I go. Yeah.
Does that mean that you're a risk taker?
Oh, absolutely. I have to be. I don't have a choice.
Yeah. Do you go in blindly, or are you more of those that builds a matrix, takes a look at it, and then outweighs the good and the bad?
If you're talking about the process, no, I don't have a process, but I do. There's something working in the background in my mind of is this the right opportunity or not? And I'm sure I'm weighing, the risks and all those things. But very often, if something feels right, I just go right after it. Because it's either I do or I don't. It can only be yes or no. So
yeah. Do you see Paterson Aerospace and your work being something that is going to have an impact on the day-to-day consumer or the defense tech sector in 5-10 years, or is this a legacy?
I think it'll definitely have an impact in the next 5 to 10 years, but yes, it is a legacy. The plan is for this to be a 100-year plus company. The plan is for it to be the face of space sustainability. When we have colonies on Mars, I want to know that our technology, our research has helped to make sure that those things are operating as sustainably as possible.
Yeah. So you talk about Mars, you said the moon. Is there a particular planet that you'd like to see yourself on? If perfect world, you can go visit a planet.
It's a good question. Not one that I think. Well, I'm sure someone has found a planet like this and somewhere out there in the solar system, but I don't think I'll ever get to visit it. It'd be really cool to be on a planet where the entire surface of the planet is just ocean. There's no land. It would be cool. I don't know. I'm a strong enough swimmer, but I don't think anybody could survive in that kind of environment. I'd swim for the rest of my life. But it would be cool to see something.
That'd be a vacation, not a staycation destination then. Okay.
Hopefully there are no sharks in that planet.
Can you share any exciting new emerging innovations or technologies that Paterson Aerospace is working on?
We're still advancing the stuff we've already been working on, and we've been making a lot of good progress. We finally raised our technologies to TRL4, and hoping by next year to be up to TRL7, technology readiness level for acronyms.
You were reading my mind. I was going to say, for our viewers that aren't really aware of that, thank you.
Yeah, but and this is one of the things that I was saying, that we are able to bridge that gap a lot faster than I expected because of the resources that we've had here and the network that we've been able to build. So, my expectation for even where we are now was, okay, probably another 2 years, maybe 3 to get to this level, but we're already looking at grants that are coming down the pipeline for us that will get us to TRL7, get us to actually test things in orbit, which will be phenomenal for our company, especially at the early phase that we're at.
Yeah, that's exciting. Are there any pieces of advice that you'd give to a younger self or the next generation coming up that is interested in engineering and aerospace defense?
I would say the faster you can get over your self-doubt, the better, because that's really what keeps us back from doing what we do. Not saying that you should just jump into everything and be cocky about life, but you should definitely not hold yourself back if you have the opportunity to do something. Yeah.
You think that's easier said than done?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I listened to my advice, I would have been here at 21, not 30.
Yeah.
So.
It's so much easier when you're on the other side.
Exactly.
And onto that. Before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to go ahead and discuss or say that we have not touched base on at all?
I definitely want to say that, I really appreciate this community, and I really love being here, and this is really a dream come true for me to be here and to be able to participate in all of this. This literally is the dream that I've been, praying about for my whole life.
Very nice. If somebody wants to connect with you, Kaylon, what's the best way? How do they reach you?
Email, LinkedIn, just come find me. I'm here.
LinkedIn, right at Kaylon Paterson, and then you have a Paterson Aerospace LinkedIn channel as well?
Yes.
Okay, that'll lead everybody back to your contact information. Thank you so much. I look forward to watching you grow and blast off and reach out of this world opportunities, and appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today to let us get a little bit of an insight of what makes Kaylon Paterson and hear about the emerging technologies that you've been working on. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you to our sponsors, A&P Master Imaging, who's always providing us with our memorabilia and promotional items. Visit their website at masteryourimage.com. And a special thank you to Utica Coffee Roasting Company for always providing us with fresh coffee, locally brewed right in Utica, New York. Until next time, I'm your host, Melissa Tallman. Stay curious, stay caffeinated. I'll see you on the next episode.
Every day, we put into practice the belief that our community can be revitalized through responsible business development by giving back through innovation, standing out in the industry with new products, methods, and services. Most importantly, to roast and share our phenomenal coffee in that process.